Welcome to Study Time, a televised home learning program produced by Rwanda Basic Education Board.
Hello students, a very warm welcome to the TV learning program where you're going to be watching and studying. As usual, I'm teacher Herbert, who is going to be taking you through the biology lesson of today. And the lesson of today is Unit 1 in Senior 3, which is concerning about the interdependence among organisms in an ecosystem. The interdependence, if we say interdependence, you know that the world, the universe is inhabited of millions and millions of species. And among all these species, none is self-reliant. It means that other organisms, they do depend on one another. So we are going to be able to understand. These are the learning objectives of today. We are going to have to understand what do we understand by interdependence. And we have also to talk about we have to define and differentiate between intra-specific and the interspecific competitions. All right? So quickly, as I mentioned earlier, that the universe is inhabited of millions and millions of species. And among all these species, none is self-reliant. None can just depend by itself, meaning that they depend on other organisms. They also depend on each other. What are these things that depend from each other? They depend from each other for, that is say, none of the organisms, that is the universe. The universe is made up of millions of species. If I say species, you know what are species? Species, if I say species, some can say this is organisms that are able to interbreed and produce fertile offsprings. So the world is made up of millions of species, and none of these species are self-reliant. If I say self-reliant, it means it is not able to survive by itself. You underline that word self-reliant. It depends on other organisms. They all depend on each other. For example, they depend on each other. For example, they depend on each other for food, shelter. Underline these words: food, shelter, and even they depend on each other, and even they depend on each other for mates. So that's what you call interdependence. But also, before I talk about interdependence, what do you understand by the word ecosystem? What is an ecosystem? What is an ecosystem? Ecosystem is the unit that is composed of both abiotic and biotic factors. Students, think about what are biotic factors and what are. We have biotic and abiotic factors. Abiotic are non-living things. Non-living things. Then abiotic means these are living things. So in interdependence also, living things also depends on non-living things. Examples of non-living things, we can have like soil. We have water. And examples of living things. Living things, we have animals. We have birds. All these both biotic and abiotic factors also create what you call interdependence. So meaning that absence of non-living things, life cannot exist on us. How is the question, how can you justify the statement? Absence of non-living things, life cannot exist on us. What does it, can you justify the statement? It means that absence of the soil and water, life cannot exist, because we know we talk about water is an essential part of life. Soil is an essential part of life, because if there is no soil, we could not be having what you call producers. If we have the soil, we have the producers, and producers are green plants. And green plants, they're able to make their own food. They have to make their own food in presence of sunlight and chlorophyll. So if they make their own food, these animals, they're able to depend on plants. So both that one creates what you call interdependence. So most of the organisms, some species, they depend to one another, but also living things can also depend on non-living things. That brings the concept, it brings the idea of what you call interdependence. So that's what you call interdependence. Living things depend on non-living things. Animals, they depend on each other for survival, so that one brings what you call interdependence. Where some of different species depend to one another in order to survive. They depend to one another in order to survive. So it does not, obviously, with the same species. So interdependence is not involving the same species. It is involving different species, where both organisms can benefit from each other. And they can also, non-living things can also depend to living things. So that one brings the concept I want to bring, what you call interdependence. As I brought what you call an ecosystem, I said it is a unit which is composed of both abiotic and abiotic factors, which is the abiotic factors, I talked about non-living things, and abiotic factors, I talked about living things. The word bio means life. Quickly, let's talk about, there are two types of dependence. There are two types of dependence. There are two types of dependence. One is called intraspecific dependence. Another one is called interspecific dependence. Let's take a note about that. Students, write a note about what you call these two dependencies. We have intraspecific interactions or dependence. You can call it interactions or dependence. Number two, we have the interspecific interactions. Students, quickly, let's talk about what are intra. The word intra means same species. That is an interaction that appears between same species. Then inter, that is an interaction or the dependence where the species are different, not of the same species. So here I can write intraspecific interaction. It involves same species interacting together, same species or same organisms, same species or stroke organism depend to each other. Then you have, that is number one. We have number two, which is inter. The word inter means different. Interspecific interaction. This one means different species or different organisms. Different species or organisms, all right, organisms depend to each other in order to survive. Students, that's what you call the intraspecific interactions. We have same species or organisms depending to each other. We can find the same organisms that are depending to each other. We can also have different organisms that are depending to each other. Let's talk about here the definition and rate the definitions of intraspecific relationship or interactions. You can write here the intraspecific interaction. Quickly, let's talk about intraspecific interactions. The intraspecific relationship or interactions. This is a relationship or interaction refers to the type of relationship that involves interactions between organisms of the same species. Students, think about and tell me the examples of the word intraspecific interrelationship. That's where same organs, they have to be interacting to one another and they must be able to benefit from each other. Let's have examples. Think about it for a moment and give me examples. Examples, we have examples, e.g. of intraspecific interactions. We have the female lions. Female lions are hunters because they are the one to hunt. Female lions are hunters and they are able to hunt. While the male ones, the male are responsible for family protection. So the family protection that is protecting the young cubs is normally done by this process of intraspecific interactions. We can also have bee colonies. The bees in colonies are also having what you call the same species. Bee colonies, another example. Example 2, bee colonies. Bee colonies is also another example. This is example 1, e.g. this is example 1. E.g. you have number 1, this is 1, and this is 2. Bee colonies also, the bees must be living in colonies. We have the workers that are responsible for doing the work. You also have some bees that are responsible for protecting the queen. So this is an example of what you call, that's an example of intra-bee colonies. You can say bee colonies have workers for doing the work, workers that do the worker bees, and those in charge of protecting the queen. That is an example of intraspecific relationship. So intraspecific relationship, we had one example. The female lions are the hunters. They are responsible for hunting for hunting of food for the families. And we also have the bee colonies. Bee colonies is also another example of intraspecific relationship, where we have the worker bees, which are responsible for doing the work and looking for food, and as well as we have those other bees that are responsible for protecting the queen. Quickly, let's talk about in intraspecific relationship, we have 2 types. In intraspecific relationship, we have 2 types. In intraspecific relationship, we have 2 types. We have what you call a competition and also cooperation. In intraspecific relationships are of 2 types. What are those two types, students? We have number one is competition, a competition. And the next is cooperation interactions. Cooperation interactions. Underline those words, students, and take a note about those two things, interactions. Under this, we have the two types. We have a competition, we have cooperation, and in cooperation, that's supposed to be intraspecific competition. Same species interact or having a relationship where the same species are benefiting from from each other or are getting benefit from each other once they are helping one another. I talked about the female lions, they are hunters, and the male ones are the family protectors. I talked about the bee colonies, and the bee colonies we talked about. Some of the bees are responsible for doing the work and looking for food for the family, and others are responsible for protecting the queen and carrying the whole thing that's concerning about the colonies. All right. Let me talk about a competition. What do you understand by a competition? A competition is a relationship that occurs between organisms either of the same species or different species. Let's talk about a competition. What is a competition? Let me talk about a competition. A competition is a relationship that occurs between organisms either of the same species. They can just be either of the same species or of different species. That's what you call a competition. A competition can just be raised between same species or can just be raised from different species. That brings what you call a competition. So let's talk about one. Most of this time they are normally competing for the limited resources that are available in the environment. If there are limited resources in the environment, that one will create what you call a competition. So the competition can just be raised from the same species, or the competition can just be raised from different species. And most of that competition is normally raised up because of what you call to require or to use the limited resources that are found in ecosystem or that are found in the environment. When the resources are limited in the environment or when the resources are limited in the ecosystem, that one raises up what we call a competition. So most of that competition can just be either in the same species or can just be either of different species. Examples of what do animals compete for. What causes competition? Competition can just be a competition can be caused by either limited resources in the environment or in ecosystem. Limited resources that are found in the environment are found in the ecosystem. These limited resources includes, we have water. They talk about, we have food. Food is the most important thing that can create competition. We have shelter, and also we can talk about shelter. We have space, competing for space, and without forgetting also mating partners. Mating partners can also create can also create competition among the species. So these are the things that can create what you call a competition among organisms. And this happens when it happens of the same species. When the competition is between the same species, when the competition is raised between the same species, that one is the intraspecific competition. When the competition is raised between organisms of different species, that one is referred to as interspecific competition. When a competition is raised between the same species, In biology, the same species, the competition, it is referred to as intra-specific competition. When it happens to different species, when it happens between different species, it is called the interspecific competition. Interspecific competition. When it is raised from the same species, when there's a competition between, take an example in human, they can just be scarce of food, and there is a rise of competition between organisms which are human. That competition is referred as intraspecific competition. But when it is raised between different species, let me just give an example. Maybe lions and other carnivores. Let me just take an example like leopards and lion. They are competing for food. That one is an interspecific competition. Let me give an example. Lions competing for a dead carcass of the zebra. And the lion is competing with these big vultures. Example, that brings what you call the interspecific competition. When it is the same species, the competition is referred to as intraspecific competition. When it is different species, it is called interspecific competition. Quickly, let's talk about now what you call a cooperation. Examples, if it happens between organs of different species, I said it is interspecific competition. Let's have an example. These are herbivores. Herbivores, you want to talk about these wild beasts and zebras competing for savanna grasses. If they are competing for savanna grasses, the zebra and the wild beast, that one is referred to as interspecific competition. But when it is a family lion, let me say the male lions are competing for the mating partners. The male lions are competing for mating partners. They are competing for territory. That one brings what you call intraspecific competition. Different same species competing for food or competing for mating partners. That one is referred as intraspecific competition. And most of the time in competition, it is normally found in organisms of the same that are occupying the same ecological niche. When organs are occupying the same ecological niche, they are in closed niche, they create what you call a competition. Most of these competitions can just be raised in the same ecological niche, or when they are what you call a closer niche. That one creates what you call a competition. Let me talk about a cooperation. Cooperation. When we talk about cooperation, that is where this is a kind of interaction in which organisms of the same species live together and share work between themselves. All right. Cooperation. Let me talk about cooperation. Cooperation is a kind of relationship of interactions in which the organisms of the same species live together, take a note about that, live together and share work between themselves, I think everybody understands these bees. The bees are good examples of cooperation. They do cooperate. Take an example, ants, bees, they are able to do what? to cooperate and live together, and they benefit from each other. Let me talk other types of interactions. There are other types of interactions. Other types of interactions. We have parasitism. We have parasitism. Other types of interactions. Other types of interactions. There are other types. There are other types. There are other types of interactions. Interaction between species. Between species and species of organisms. Of organisms, we have examples. We have parasitism. We have predation. We have mutualism. We have commensalism. We have amensorism. And you also have what we call eroropath. You have eroropaths. So quickly, I would just talk about parasitism. We can say parasitism is these are the other forms of interactions. There are other, we talked about intra and inter, but there are other forms of interactions. We have parasitism, predation, mutualism, commensalism, and amensorism, and even eroropaths. So students, I will discuss these two. Parasitism, that's where one organism benefits, another one suffers. So it means that one organ benefits in association or in the relationship, another one is harmed. We have predation. One organ hunts and eats another organism in order to survive. And then mutualism, that's where the word mutual means to live together in harmony. That is, both organ benefits in association. So the other commensalism, that is where one organ benefits, another one is neither affected or harmed. So students, we are going to go through these other types of interactions in the next lesson. So I'm going to leave with you a home assignment or a homework that we are going to go through, and you do it, and then we make a revision. We are going to go through these other relationships. What is the difference between interspecific and interspecific relationship? Mutualism -- both organisms. Plus and zero exhibits -- differentiate between mutualism and commensalism and give two examples. So you are going to go through that exercise, and the next onset, we are going to go through these other types of interactions, and we also do the work together. Students, thank you very much for being with me in my lesson. Hope to see you next time, and I hope for you to do the work. See you next time.